Hello everybody, it's Paul here with Left-Handed Knife Reviews. Today we're going to be reviewing the Three Rivers Manufacturing Neutron 2. Let's get right into it. First up we have our facts and figures. This is going to be a 3-inch blade in 20 CV running on a set of washers. These scales are made out of G10. These scales are made out of micarta and are affixed to a titanium liner, and the handle measures in right at 4 inches. At the time of this review, this knife sells for $182.50 on TRM's website when available. Next up, I'm going to put a few items on the table as the exact dimensions of the knife will appear on the screen. First up, we have our Dixon Ticonderoga pencil unsharpened. Next up, we will follow that with the PM3 lightweight. After that, we will put the Hogue RSK Mark I. Put another Spyderco Paramilitary 2. And last one, we will follow that up with the Neutron's big brother, the TRM Atom. Next up, we will talk about Larry and my experience while using the knife. The Neutron was a knife nice to use. The G10 had a really good texture and gave us a very secure grip. The micarta we tested was a little bit less grippy, but it was a very nice quality micarta. The size of the handle gave us a good amount of room for our hands, and we were able to hold the knife a few different ways comfortably. With the overall thickness of this blade, the chef's knife hold was definitely one that worked really well with the knife. This knife for us had a good consistent lockup and deployed nicely for most individuals. This knife overall was pleasant to carry for review. Alright, let's take a look at what the Neutron succeeds at. This blade is a great blade. Made out of 20 CV steel, which is a very nice blade steel that both Larry and myself enjoyed. The blade stock itself is 9/10 of an inch thick. This blade slices through EDC tasks with ease. The overall construction and materials used in this knife are quite good. The titanium throughout is great and lends to a very lightweight knife. This knife comes in at 2.5 ounces for 3 inches of blade. Both the scales I've used, the micarta and the G10, were both good quality, which leads us to the last success, which is how easy it is to swap out the scales and the amount of scales available. At the time of this review, there are 7 different scales in stock and available for the Neutron 2 on the TRM's website. 2 screws, both T6 on either side, allow the scales to come off, and then you have to remove, of course, the pocket clip, which again is only 2 more screws. Pop them off, pop them back on. Can be done in under a minute if you're really rushing. But a really awesome thing, so you can match your knife to whatever you're doing that day. Next up, let's talk about what this knife struggles with. First thing this knife struggles with is availability. TRM communicates upcoming availability well, both via its Facebook page and its website under Facts Question 1. But even with this information, the knife, when it does drop, sells out in a matter of seconds, sometimes minutes. This is a really good knife made by people machining titanium in Massachusetts, and it has developed a kind of following. Most of our struggles with the knife itself we'll go over in everything that's left. Next up we have our points of note. Points of note are neutral things that fall between successes and struggles, but we feel like need to be mentioned. This is a nice deep carry pocket clip. There is actually no lanyard hole on the knife, but there are a few standoffs along the back of the knife, which if you wanted to, you could loop a lanyard through. The thumb studs are press fit in, so changing them would be difficult. All right, let's move on to everything that's left. The part of the knife review, we talk about everything left-handed. This is not a left-handed knife. The pocket clip as delivered is not interchangeable because the show side does not have any holes to install a pocket clip. The liner itself comes right up against the thumb stud, and the thumb stud itself is actually below the scale. So getting purchase on it is difficult. I have a hard time with it. Larry could not do it. He has also sliced off the tips of his thumbs on meat slicers, and his thumbs are more callous towards the tip than actual skin. This knife can open with the reverse flick quite easily with practice, which was my preferred method of opening the knife as a left-handed individual. For a right-handed individual, you have ample room to open the knife because the scale is cut back well, and there's enough room to get under and behind easily. But you can make this knife more left-handed friendly. Let me switch it over. All right, so there we go. I did send an email to TRM about this because I wanted to know how many of their knives actually have holes drilled in the liners before I mentioned anything in my video. Most of the knives that they've manufactured, the Atlas had the liners drilled for lefty, Atom had the liners drilled for lefty, the original Neutron drilled for lefty, the Neutron 2 drilled for lefty, Nerd drilled for lefty, and the Viator all have liners that are drilled to accept a left-handed carry pocket clip. But I did need to drill through a set of scales that I had. These are the micarta scales that actually came with the knife to put the clip on for left-hand carry. I also took a file and I filed down this scale right here to be able to get better purchase on the thumb stud itself. That made this knife more left-handed friendly, definitely. My preferred open is still the reverse flick, just because even with the milled out section, it's still a little bit difficult to get behind it, but I will use it in a pinch. But having the clip on the left side is actually quite nice, and it's good to know that if you do want a Neutron or another knife that they manufacture, the holes are theirs in the liner. You just have to get through the scale, and you can request scales that are drilled from TRM. That might not be something that they do in the future just due to their volume, but it is something that they have been able to do for customers in the past. Also, they have said on their Facebook page that they are planning to do a left-handed Atom in the future. If they do an Atom, I hope that at some point they do take a look at the Neutron and consider making a full left-handed version of that as well, because it would be nice to have the purchase and another left-handed liner lock in existence. But overall, with the clip switched, this is a more left-handed friendly knife. The liner lock itself is actually a really good liner lock. Very minor light manipulation to get the lock disengaged. Good little bit of jimping in there. But yeah, so that is everything that is left. All right, let's move on to our final thoughts and recommendations. So we recommend the Neutron for anybody looking for a really good EDC knife with a solid blade. This is a great knife, and it carries incredibly well at its size and weight. There's a lot of competition trying to acquire these knives, and a good community to lament with on their Facebook page, who will also help you with tips and tricks on how to get your hands on one. This knife can be made more left-handed friendly, but out of the box, some lefties might struggle with deploying the knife due to there not being a lot of room around the thumb stud. We hope that someday they will make a left-handed one, as they have mentioned with the Atom. And if you do get one and it's not your cup of tea, the resale on these is really good. And they usually don't last more than a couple of minutes when posted to the Facebook group. In the end, the Neutron is a really good knife, and it's worth picking up if you can. Thank you very much for joining me today. Be sure to subscribe for more great knife content. We'll see you next time.